Welcome to What's the Deal with Sam? Starring Sam Lilly. Join Sam as he discusses a wide variety of topics.
Fan mail.
Now let's start the show.
Thank you. What's the deal with positive review bombs? They're like negative review bombs with the ground. So this is basically me looking at this thing that this announcement that went up that Valve put up on Steam May 21st, 2019. Just so this is dated well. That's not the day I'm recording this. It's a few days later, but whatever. By the time you see it, it's going to be, maybe even the next year. Who knows? The thing is, I actually kind of talked a bit about this idea before when they first announced how they were, updating their user review system, which I think is good. They can make it better. But I had concerns about it, and this is one of the things I kind of talked about. See, in the previous video I did, the main thing they were talking about in that announcement were these off-topic review bombs, and mostly they were negative review bombs. They were mostly focusing on the negative stuff, where basically there's a bunch of reviews in a certain span of time, a high volume of them that are all negative, and so then they go in and look at this, and basically it triggers and sees all these, and it's like, okay, that's flag, that's suspicious, and it doesn't count those towards the review score yet. And then they have someone go in and start looking at a sample of those reviews to see if they're actually talking about stuff with the game. But if it's something that's outside of the game, just talking about the developer or some kind of just industry bullshit or real world events going on, and those are the things that are being talked about there, well, that's not really about the game. That's not really going to help somebody on here who's looking to potentially buy the game. And so since it's not directly related, they say, okay, well, there's enough of these out here. Those aren't really on the topic of this game. So those are going to be considered off-topic. Off-topic review bombs, negative off-topic review bombs. And so all of those in that time frame, because they're not going to look at every single one, they're just looking at a sample of them. And so just unfortunately, everything in that time frame is just going to be, it's still going to be up there. People can still find it, but it's not going to count towards the overall score of a game, which of course makes it look more positive, right? Well, they address this now, finally, with the idea of a positive review bomb, because I brought up how that could be abused in the same kind of way of just manipulating, let's have a lot of these positive reviews going up here, whether they're even legitimate or not, and just throw those on there, because that'll just make things look good, because everything will have a really high rating, and so people will want to buy a bunch of stuff on the Steam store, and that looks good, that makes a Valve look good, it makes a storefront look good, and it means more money. And they're addressing that with this, specifically the example they're using is with Assassin's Creed Unity, I believe it is, where there's a whole Notre Dame, the fire that happened at the monument. Let's put it that way, so people don't yell at me. And there was that thing that happened, and I was like, oh shit, that sucks. And then apparently Ubisoft gave away free copies of that, and then a lot of people were playing that, and a lot of people, because of that, were like, oh, that's cool, that's interesting, and because of the events and whatever, like, they could go back and see the monuments and stuff in the game, and so a lot of people actually ended up getting it on Steam as well, and a lot of people were actually reviewing it on Steam and saying positive things about, like, it's cool to be able to see this, and, like, that this is still here, and it's cool that they were happy that Ubisoft, like, gave away free copies of that, like, it was like, kind of a nice thing to see people being like, oh, this is cool. And then it kind of, I guess they're using that as the example of, like, should we consider positive review bombs as off-topic review bombs? Because they were originally just calling it off-topic review bombs. And it kind of has a negative connotation, I guess. But they're pretty much just using this for the example, and they're basically asking a bunch of questions like, should this count as that? Should we consider positive review bombs as a thing and not count those reviews when they're not about the game also? Which, if you're asking me, absolutely count those, because if it's all about just the game itself, then yeah, well, then if those things aren't about the game and that's what's giving the positive reaction, then yeah, don't count those. Just like the same way, like people can have problems with the industry and things and the developers and shit going on around a game and say it's a negative. I don't see why that should be, then not okay when it's still, still related, even if it's off topic of just the game. So is this if it's not about just the game. And so, make up your mind. Do you want to mark things for off topic, or are you only doing it for the negative ones? And I think what they want, at least by the way they worded it, the way they've kind of set everything up, they're kind of asking, like, should we do this? These are things they're trying to consider for the future. They haven't considered it. They haven't done this to the Assassin's Creed ones yet. They haven't labeled them. They've left it as is for now. But they're asking us now for the future, should we be doing that? And I think it is kind of shitty they're not addressing the actual issue of, like, what about when it's an abuse of the system and it's not just and other, like, something else that people are happy about. And I guess it's still manipulation. Now they know, developers and publishers and whatever, people know, these game companies know they can just do something charitable with their game and that'll garner a good positive response. And if that's okay to do, they'll just do that to get the review scores up. They won't have to actually, improve the game or, make a quality product for that. As long as they can do something that gets people to say good things about them and like them, they can get positive reviews. And then that's not necessarily going to help somebody who actually wants this quality game. It doesn't really say anything to me that this company did good things outside of the game. That doesn't make me want to buy the game. So if you're using the same kind of logic, otherwise, take away the negative review bombs too and leave those in, as I think that either you're going to have to commit to the outside stuff that's still related counts, or it doesn't. You have to pick one. You can't just, cherry pick it for whatever you want. And I think what they want is basically for us to, the way they're leading this, is they want us to say, you know what, leave the negative ones there, the negative review bomb thing, keep taking those out for the off-topic ones, but for off-topic positive review bombs, don't bother. Those are fine. They probably want that because then if enough people are behind that, then they'll go with it and it'll seem like the people decided they wanted it, the users decided, and then they get away with doing that, and again, promoting their storefront as a nice, positive, really good-looking place that'll also help make them, make more money. And that's all I feel like this is about. And even though they're framing it as though we're trying to help us out, I don't feel like we're given much for options. And again, I think there should be some kind of system of, like, maybe some kind of character minimum or something for reviews, maybe some kind of, and, like, there's already minimum playtime for some of these. There should be, I don't know, there's ways to kind of go into here and, like, little things you can do to make it so people are actually making quality reviews and then will be deterred from just making, these shitty reviews. And I guess if you want them to be, completely just about the game, then you have to crack down on that on all ends, even if it's something that seems like it's really neutrally not about it. And somebody just does a weird blog, and it's just like, well, it's not really about the game. It's just about, what you did today. You probably don't want to count that as part of the review score either. That's just probably not going to happen, there's not going to be a large number of those. There's not going to be a spike of those coming up. So, I don't know. I'm still really, really skeptical. I'm glad they brought it up at least, but I'm kind of disappointed in the way they're kind of trying to herd us into being like, we don't really think we should do it, but, should we? I guess if you hate the idea of people being nice about this tragedy in the world, I guess we will just count this as off topic too. If you're a bad person, but that's up to you if you want to be a bad person. And it's like, fuck you, don't do that. Just, I don't know, that's frustrating. They narrow the scope so much to gear it that way. So what's the deal with positive off topic review bombs? They're like negative off topic review bombs with the ground. We finally released a fucking Mobile version for the group chats, though. Took them goddamn long enough.
What's the deal with Sam? What's